I think one way employers get into trouble is that, let's say new management comes in, and because this person wasn't hired by them, there's just some built-in problem that employee is never going to be able to overcome because there's this stamp on them. Mm-hmm. And no matter how much they improve or do what the employer says they're asking, the employer won't give them a break, won't see them any differently.
That happens, yes. And actually, it's more prevalent at the higher echelons of organizations. You see that all the time when a new CEO or a new, somebody else in the C level comes in, and they will completely clean house and bring their own team in. But there's a bias. It's a personal bias. It's a human nature kind of thing, and it's unfortunate. And that happens, though. The person it's happening to, we go back to what we talked about before in terms of managing the boss. You have to almost ingratiate yourself to the person and show them that they're not a threat. They can be trusted. They can contribute. I can make your job easier. I know things you don't know because I've been here longer.
Right.
And so you need to be a catalyst, not a barrier. And sometimes we dig in our heels and we do ourselves a disservice by thinking we can win that war, and you can't. It's the old art of war, if you remember that book. And it is an art. It really is.
You make me think of the person who comes in and cleans house, though, in a different way. Suddenly, I think that person's almost kinder than putting employees through what maybe they know they would put them through.
Yeah, they're not prolonging the agony.
Right, and they know themselves well enough to know, I'm just not that good if I don't have my own people surrounding me.
He's just not that into you, right?
Right. And back to the totem pole, I think there are two kinds of people in the world. Those who are jealous and angry at those who are ahead of them in life, and those who are so glad there are people who are ahead of them in life so that they can learn from them.
That is so, I just came back from a leadership conference, and there was a presentation about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And it was kind of an academic thing, but that's exactly what they were talking about, is there are two types of people, and it sounds oversimplistic. But the growth mindset actually wants to learn from mistakes and from challenges, whereas the fixed mindset wants to avoid them, go around them, or make excuses for them. And that's a powerful concept when you're hiring people, to find out if their mindset is one of growth or if it's fixed. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It's a maturity lift, an intellectual, maturity kind of thing.
I think so. And while we all want to think we're in one category, there's probably a little bit of all of us that is in both.
Absolutely.
We have a caller. Hi, Neil.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I, for one, worked down the Twin Cities most of my career, and I worked in the printed circuit board industry. And I see what a dog eat dog, and I've seen that where they hired somebody in to clean house, and it was almost, I literally seen hundreds of people get laid off. You know what my recommendation to the young people today is?
Please.
Get a government job if you want to be secure and you want good benefits.
Hey, Neil,
in a way, I'm serious.
Neil, it's not going to be an option.
What do you mean?
We're all going to be working for the government pretty soon.
and it's kind of sad. I'm being a little facetious, but I mean, and then do you guys have the statistics on how many times a person changes a job in his working career now?
Yes, in fact, it's interesting because I just spoke about that to this young professionals group. When in the World War II generation and the organization man generation of the 50s and 60s, most people only had a couple of jobs their entire life, and now it's in the teens. I mean, you're looking at people having 15 jobs in a career, and that will be normal. And it's understandable too. I mean, if you look at demographics, the way society is right now, it's just the way it is. People are jumping ship. They're getting let go. They're trying to find the perfect job in their first year in their career, and that isn't going to happen.
but just think of the stress then in one's lifetime. If you're going to buy a house with a 30-year mortgage and you're changing jobs that many times in your lifetime, you wonder why things are screwed up.
Well, I think the Gen X, Gen Y, the millennials, whatever you want to call them, they don't know anything else. I don't think this stresses them out. They're used to living a life of stress. I mean, they thrive on it. They haven't seen anything else but that. So I think it's a different experience. You know, what we are is where we were when. In other words, you know, we are all products of our experiences in our lifetime. And what you and I, Neil, if it sounds like you're probably close to my age, we experienced something very different than what the young people today are experiencing. And in fact, if all they saw was the dot-com 90s, if you remember that period when everybody got equity and if you could fog the mirror, you owned the company, they thought that was reality. And then when the dot-com bubble burst and 9/11 and Enron and WorldCom and everything went to hell, they feel betrayed, they feel slighted, they feel shorted, and they still think that's a reality. So it's a different experience. It's not wrong or bad. It's just different.
Neil, we only have a couple of seconds going into the next commercial. Is there anything you want to leave John with or ask him real quick?
Well, I'll just say that I'm in my 50s, and I grew up in Alexandria, and I moved to the cities not because I liked the location. It's where I had the opportunity to make a good living. And boy, when I was down there, I made hay when the sun shines. That's what I tell the kids today, too. Get out of debt. Thank you.
Thanks for joining the show. We are talking with John Putzier today. He is the author of Get Weird, Weirdos in the Workplace, and the soon-to-be-released The Everything HR Kit. I hope you are enjoying this program as much as I am, and I hope you'll stay tuned for lots more great advice and inspiration. You can call us toll-free, 888-598-8464, and join us on the Career Clinic. I am so glad you're listening to the radio right now. I'm Maureen Anderson, host of the Career Clinic, and while I always look forward to the show, I have been looking forward to this particular program for a year. That's because exactly 1 year ago today, John Putzier joined us on the show, and I have just looked forward to having him back. John, we want to take the last segment of the program and give out as many suggestions as we can for making your workplace a fun place to work. But before we do, two quick questions. One, do you blog?
No.
How did you get out of doing that?
Well, I have been absorbed in writing this book, and
sure.
you know what it's like, Maureen. When you're well, maybe you don't, maybe you can multitask, but I have to get into a zone when I write these books, and I'm not a very happy camper in the process. So stretching myself in two directions isn't an option.
Okay. Do you ever plan to? No. Well, good for you. So that first part was just an excuse and really not at all the point.
Now you busted me. All right.
All right. Well, I'll blog about you. How does that sound? I'll do it soon. I was dragged kicking and screaming. I resisted for a year, but I spent the year reading other blogs and trying to decide what kind of blogger I want to be. So just while we're on the subject, if you go to thecareerclinic.com, the last 4 posts are about all the great people here at AM 1100 The Flag in Fargo who help us put the show on. So to give them that plug. John, I want to give you a commercial as well. If this fix of you isn't enough for people, and it isn't enough for me, so I'm hoping the same is true for anyone listening, where can they learn more about you online?
Well, they can go to getweird.net, or, there are so many different ways to get me. I don't need a blog. You've got weirdosintheworkplace.com, johnputzier.com. There's all kinds of ways. Or just Google me, and you'll find me. I'm not hard to find.
Let's spell your name, though. It's John.
Right. Putzier. It's Alsatian, French and German. Putzier.
And this will jinx it, but I think I have correctly pronounced it every time.
You have. You have.
It only took, 10 years?
Where I live, it's Putzier.
All right, we have 5 good minutes now. Let's just fire them off as fast as we can. Suggestions for making, starting today or Monday, your workplace more fun.